Hello and welcome to my channel. If you are new, I am so glad you found me, and if you've been here before, oh my God, you came back, and I'm so glad you popped on. Thank you. My name is Alonda Carter and I'm a recovering Hunbot. On my channel, I cover r/anti-MLM and leverage my personal Hunbot experience. I also cover other Reddit material from time to time, and I draw on my expertise as an instructional designer, giving you tips on how to create online courses. Today's video will cover part 3 of a paper presented at the International Cultic Studies Conference that took place earlier this year in Manchester, England. If you have not listened to part 1 and part 2, I suggest that you do, because I think it'll make sense to hear everything in context and flowing from one part to the next part. Start with 1, go to 2, then come to 3. I have come across people trying to, stereotype people who join MLMs. Let me just say, there is not a specific type, meaning, because I often hear, well, they just go after people who aren't educated. Not true. Not everyone is uneducated. Myself, I have 2 advanced degrees, not 1, 2. And I've known several nurses and many other professionals. So education is not the litmus test. Neither are new moms. There are plenty who are not moms or who have children that are older that join MLMs. Basically, no one is immune to joining. Kind of like cults, dare I say. You are taught as a Hun to basically cast a wide net. Because, if you cast a wide net, you're going to catch a few fish, right? Basically, just offer your thing to everyone, anyone breathing, and in any situation. And you think you're doing the right thing because the people, quote unquote, above you are telling you to do this. Huns do not mean to be icky. I really truly believe they don't mean to be icky. I never was like, oh, now granted, I did feel like, uncomfortable doing a lot of things, but I wasn't just trying to, ick people out. And for the most part, it goes back to, you just don't realize you are, because you keep hearing from these people who've been successful that this is what you do, blah, 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 blah. And, you don't know. You just really don't get it. So if there is anyone to blame, I believe it goes to the top, not the Huns. And the Huns are the ones that are so easy to, just get all upset about what they're doing, but it goes so far beyond them. It goes to those who actually create the MLMs, the people at the top, the people in the organizations that will teach you how you can create your very own MLM. And I will be doing a video on one of those, because I think it's important to look at people don't just wake up one day and create an MLM out of the blue. There's a system, like with anything. People learn this stuff from someone, and it's just being passed along. So, give the Huns a break. They're really, they're just trying to do what they think is building a business. I know I did. So be kind to the Huns, a little bit, kinder. Try to be understanding that I will get into a lot of this, in other videos as I cover things, because I really get the mentality of the Hun, since, hello, I was one. This is part 3 of Coercive Techniques in Business Opportunity Cults. So let's go ahead and get to it, shall we? Avoid the dream stealers. One constant refrain in the MLM message is to avoid the dream stealers. That is, friends and family who question the validity of the opportunity. MLM trainers generally caution distributors against engaging on these questions. Rather, the distributor should simply avoid these negative people. If your friends disapprove of Amway, do not associate with them. My brother saw us as negative influences, and negative influences need to be cut out of your life. The advice is to cut off contact with doubters, is given a self-help veneer. These people are bad for you. Avoid negative people, for they are the greatest destroyers of self-confidence and self-esteem. Surround yourself with people who bring out the best in you. Another MLM trainer advises that my friends were so negative about it to the point that it drove me mad. So I distanced myself from them for a good year or two. Limit the time you spend with those kind of people. A former MLM distributor stated that they do train where basically what they tell you is if someone doesn't support you, then you get rid of them. It doesn't matter if it's your mom, your brother, your sister, your husband, your friend, you don't need them in your life. You tell the people you love they're in a pyramid scheme and they go, no, I'm not. You're just a hater. Avoiding the dream stealers is essential to maintain the positive attitude that good MLM distributors must cultivate in themselves. Even more important than never speaking negative words was the policy of never thinking negative thoughts. In light of this, it was vital to avoid negative thoughts, negative people, and negative counsel. The insulation from negative influences includes instructions on what a distributor should and should not read. Before you read a book, find out if it's on the recommended list. It's vital to read the right books. Therefore, you must stop reading the wrong books. The only books you should read are those you purchase through the system. I read what my sponsor tells me to read. Follow the star. Celebrity endorsers. The big meeting has to have a star. Sometimes the star is the founder of the company. Sometimes it's one of the top distributors. But frequently, as the MLM company grows, it will invest in celebrity speakers and endorsers. These celebrities may be athletes, actors, politicians, or motivational gurus. To cite just a few examples, the soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo, sorry, may not have pronounced that right, reputed to be one of the wealthiest athletes in the world, has a lucrative endorsement deal with the MLM Herbalife. Prior to his election, President Trump was a paid endorser of ACN, an MLM based in North Carolina. The People Helping People agency, an MLM selling life insurance and other financial products, retained former President George W. Bush, basketball star Kobe Bryant, and prominent right-wing psychologist Jordan Peterson to speak at its upcoming annual conference. It's your own fault if you fail. One constant in the MLM recruitment pitch is the message that if you fail, it's your own fault. Anyone who was not happy with his or her income was advised to get a mirror and look directly at the person responsible. If you fail, it is because you didn't follow the plan correctly or because you did not maintain a sufficient level of belief. Among other things, it is essential that you stick with the plan long enough to give it a chance to work. MLM recruiters and trainers are fond of saying, winners never quit and quitters never win. They say if you leave that you failed, how dare you? You could have made it. You don't know because you quit. That a distributor's failure must be their own fault is part of the ideology of MLM. Poverty is the fault of the poor. There is no excuse for failure. Only losers complain and criticize. If you are blaming your lack of success on something external that you can't control, you lose control. Don't be a victim, be a boss. One of the co-founders of LuLaRoe, Mark Stidham, was recorded as saying, I've heard some whining lately about my inventory is stale. No, you're stale. Your customers are stale. Get out and find new customers. Ironically, some of the MLM messaging explicitly refers to mind control. If your business isn't going well, it is probably because of the way you are thinking. 90% of what we do is mindset. It's all about programming ourselves with the right attitude. The repeated message gets heard. Many failed MLM distributors attribute their lack of success to their own failure to work hard enough or effectively enough. I used to think maybe I'm not putting in enough time. You convince yourself that you're maybe doing something wrong. Maybe you're not trying hard enough. Summary of legal remedies for MLM victims. Federal laws. In the United States, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, has a primary role in protecting consumers from unfair and deceptive practices by MLM companies. Typically, in enforcement actions against MLM firms, the FTC will allege both that the company is operating a pyramid scheme and an inherently deceptive practice, and that it is making deceptive earnings claims. The FTC also has the authority to promulgate trade regulations, such as the franchise and business opportunity rules discussed above. When it decided to exempt MLM offerings from the business opportunity rule, the FTC stated it would continue to bring enforcement actions against MLM firms on a case-by-case basis. The FTC has also taken the position that there are legitimate MLM plans that can be distinguished from pyramid schemes. Unfortunately, the FTC's case-by-case enforcement policy and its concession that some MLM plans are legitimate has the practical effect of legitimizing most MLM firms. Since the FTC does not have the inclination or resources to investigate every MLM firm, any firm that is not subject to an investigation can claim that the absence of any FTC investigation means that it is not a pyramid scheme. The FTC has a very broad mandate covering the gamut of consumer protection and antitrust issues, and is subject to the political whims of budgets and shifting enforcement policies. We do not expect much action against MLM under the current administration, referring to the Trump administration. Another federal agency, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, can also prosecute MLM companies based on a line of precedents holding that investments in a pyramid scheme are considered to be investment contract securities. In Omni-Nutrition, the Ninth Circuit held that the FTC and SEC definitions of pyramid scheme are essentially identical. The practical distinction for victims is that lawsuits under the FTC Act may only be brought by the FTC, while the federal securities laws permit both private actions and individuals, as well as public enforcement actions by the SEC. There are also some federal criminal claims which can be utilized by the Department of Justice to prosecute MLM firms, including mail fraud, wire fraud, and the Federal Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization RICO statute. The RICO statute provides for private actions by victims. To my knowledge, the DOJ has never prosecuted an MLM firm under the RICO statute, but there may have been a number of private RICO actions by MLM victims. State laws. In addition to federal remedies, there are a variety of state laws that potentially affect MLM companies, including laws prohibiting pyramid schemes or endless chain schemes, as well as consumer protection laws generally modeled after the FTC Act. These laws vary in their definitions of pyramid schemes and the remedies, including whether individuals have a private right of action. In particular, the Direct Selling Association has successfully lobbied a number of state legislators to amend their anti-pyramid laws in a manner which protects existing MLM practices. State enforcement agencies are typically understaffed and underfunded and may be reluctant to take on a large MLM, particularly one with political connections. Occasionally, a group of states will pool their resources and prosecute an MLM, as happened with Fortune High Tech Marketing, which was subject to joint enforcement actions by the states of Kentucky, Illinois, and Illinois must be another state, don't know what it is, and the FTC. Class actions and arbitration clauses. The above referenced legal claims generally only recognize the financial damages suffered by MLM victims, and the damages generally range from a few $1,000s to perhaps a few tens of thousands of dollars. These losses are significant to the people who suffered them, but generally are not sufficient to justify litigation. Accordingly, most MLM victims are filed as class actions. The class action is a procedural device under which one or more representative plaintiffs may sue on behalf of a class of similarly situated victims in one lawsuit, thereby making it feasible for a contingency fee attorney to undertake the litigation. In order to bring a case as a class action, the plaintiffs must establish that the class is sufficiently numerous to justify class treatment. The class representative or representatives are typically members of the class and will adequately represent the class, and there are common issues of fact or law which predominate over individual issues. The court must certify that the proposed class meets all the requirements before the case can proceed to the merits as a class action. Defendants generally will fight very aggressively against class certification, since denial of certification typically represents the death knell of the lawsuit. Due to the significant risk posed by class actions by victims, MLM firms have increasingly adopted contractual provisions in their distributor agreements which require MLM distributors to arbitrate any claims they have against the company, and which preclude distributors from bringing class actions. While some of these clauses have been successfully challenged, the trend of decisions by the U.S. Supreme Court is to enforce them. Class actions are not satisfactory solution to the pyramid scheme problem. Most class actions settle for money damages, with the settlement limited to the amount of money that the MLM firm can pay without seriously impeding its operations as an ongoing concern. The settlement might include an agreement by the MLM firm to change some of its practices, but there is little incentive by either the plaintiffs or the MLM company to undertake any changes that will have a real impact. Finally, class actions are most effective and most likely to be certified where the claims are for financial loss that can be determined on a formulaic basis. Claims for personal injuries or for emotional distress, like injuries suffered by victims of a cult, are unlikely to be certified. Claims for undue influence not suitable for class treatment since individual facts concerning the details of the recruitment, the susceptibility of the victim, and the injuries suffered will predominate over any other common issues. Conclusion. While pre-sale disclosures would be helpful for prospective MLM distributors, they will not solve the pyramid scheme problem. The MLM recruitment process has been fine-tuned through the decades of practice and experience. Pre-sale disclosures might dissuade some prospects and might lower earning expectation, but MLM firms will still succeed in recruiting new targets, the vast majority of whom will lose their investments. Existing legal remedies are inadequate. It may be better consumer education may provide a more immediate and effective approach. I hope this paper will stimulate discussion and more academic analysis of the methods for addressing the problem of pyramid schemes. Wow. Okay. As a former Hun, I have so much to say about so much of what I have read in these 3 parts. Because as I read this to you, it just rings in my ears of what I was told. What I did is just like, yes, checkbox, everything. And maybe the details vary from any situation, but overall the same theme. It's just there. I mean, like Mr. Brooks said, this has been fine-tuned. So it's no accident that, there's similarities across one MLM to another MLM. They're all doing the same thing. And they're all, putting the blame on you, the victim. If you have been impacted by an MLM, meaning you joined and found that building a business is not what you expected because the system is set up against you, speak out. The best thing you can do right now is just to file a report with the FTC. People impacted by MLMs typically are very unlikely to file reports. I think this has to do with, being embarrassed or ashamed, and the MLMs are counting on that. Until more people, start speaking out, this is just going to, remain. Encourage someone who has joined an MLM to tell their story. And if you have a story to tell your story. Your voice adds fuel to the fire. The only way we can make a change is to speak out. MLMs count that you will not take action. They count that you're not going to file a report with the FTC or your state attorney general or whatever other organization in your state. They count on that. Because it goes all back to the social pressure. I mean, I'm going to have to bust out, my anthropology background and really, analyze it from that framework when I start speaking about my own experience as it relates to this. I hope you'll join me in speaking out. And if you like this type of content, meaning I do, r/antiMLM content and stuff from other Reddits, and I also will share tips on how to help you create great online courses because my background is in instructional design. I have a master's in instructional technology and a master's in anthropology. Yeah, so go ahead and please consider subscribing. That would be great. I'm so excited that, I have, I think 36 subscribers now. I know, teeny tiny. I know. But I've actually seen people starting to subscribe within like the past week or so, since I started doing anti-MLM stuff. And that's just really super exciting to me. I never thought this would be something I would be doing, but I do have a passion for it because I went through it. I know that mental stuff that is going on with people, and it's a suck bucket, when you're not seeing the success, when you are spending hours upon hours each day busting your butt, month after month after month after month after month, and you aren't getting anywhere. It's kind of like, like when you're on a treadmill, you never really get anywhere, but you keep on walking. It's the same kind of thing. You don't get anywhere, but you keep on going. So thanks so much for being here, and I appreciate it. So, share this with someone if you think that it will help them. And remember, change starts now.